to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Rodicat. You can find me at Rodicat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNutsNeat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, but tonight, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we're running a little bit behind schedule tonight, because playoff baseball, everybody. Playoff baseball.
Just to let him off the hook,
What's that?
I said just to let him off the hook just a little bit, but he also had some technical difficulties.
That too.
It wasn't just because of that, but so that means, hey, we should have less distractions during the course of the show. So with that being said, folks, you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google, it would be Apple, Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Man, Google, you got to get better, man. Google. You could also find us streaming mostly every Thursday nights. Sometimes on occasion at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, whichever you happen to be in at the time. On the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we're on live and direct.
Yes. Well, folks, just to hit the ground running, we're gonna start off. Well, actually, I forgot to tell the Agent 7A the order, but that's fine because he'll.
It's all right.
We are going to start with talking about Agatha All Along, episode 4, which is called "If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You."
Right. And I believe I misspoke or misheard last week when I probably undercounted how many trials this coven is going to go through. I think you're right. It's going to be 6. So, or something like that. A lot more than I said, which is, I think, 3. So
yeah, I think it's 4, but
right. Well, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I undercounted. So because I think they're going to go through this trial per week thing for at least the next several episodes.
Right.
And we're in the latest trial, which seemed to focus upon the Asian witch and her overcoming, some previous trauma. That's essentially what it's about. And we find a few more things out, but overall, it's just another step. I think my biggest issue so far in this series is that I really don't care for Agatha Harkness, and this is something I've said before. When it comes to these, more villain-centric or anti-hero type stories, if I don't care about the hero, I've really stopped caring about the story, or at least the hero of the story, the protagonist of the story, the main character, right? I think I'm borderline there. I'm in it just to see how they execute at this point. I don't know how Roddy Cat feels about it, but I'll hand it off to him.
I mean, well, first of all, I forgot to mention what's up to Benji in the chat, because I forgot to mention that before we started into this. Happy you're with us, good sir.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all right with it because it is a curious. I'm kind of with you on the fact that, yeah, I'm kind of seeing how this gets executed, and I've been enjoying it so far. I know there are stories here and there. It was like either this is the best Marvel thing ever, which those stories, and then of course there will be the follow up story by the same people. Was this the worst? Was it bad? Or they probably already happened. Regardless, like, people just let things happen. All right. But that being said, that's kind of where I am with this, because the mysteries that we still have going into this, like even down to the, well, why is this a necessary thing? Which doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Like if it's a good show with a good story, just like with any comic book, let it let it breathe, let it ride, let it cook, as the kids keep overusing.
Right.
And even some other, not even kids, but but that's kind of where it is. And as far as how I feel about Agatha, I don't know. I'm still okay with it. Like I was at this point, the MCU version of Agatha is pretty much to me like the comic book version, in that okay, they come in for some odd reason. Sometimes it was taking care of a kid. Sometimes you had something to teach to a witch or something like that. I assume
Right.
this might be a little bit of the latter, and you know, in some way, shape, or form. Uh, I I doubt if it's going to be some sort of redemption arc, because it's not like she's kind of had a whole lot of time to cook in that respect to need that. Because like yeah, everything that happened in WandaVision is what it is, but like none of that is affecting the larger world. What's going on here, you know?
Not anymore. Right. I
Right,
mean, it eventually might, but not in any sort of big way anymore.
right, and that's the thing. Like okay, so when we come out of this, is anything coming out of this going to affect the MCU at large
Right.
in any shape, way, shape, or form? Like people are speculating this and then the other, and cameos of whomever and whatever. And so, like, yeah, we don't know, and people have. You would think people have gotten tired of speculating and being wrong.
Right. And it's a 9-episode series, right?
That is correct.
Right. So we are roughly halfway through. Not
Mm-hmm.
quite, but almost there, because we're halfway through the next episode we will be.
Right. So, and going back to the trial thing is like I was kind of wondering, like after especially what happened last week, but I guess it makes sense to where you know the covenant is still intact despite what happened last week. And yeah, the trials are going to be because of like, well, yeah, everybody's going to get trial, everybody's going to get have their moment to get uh have their trial, whatnot. And I do like, which was the one point I wanted to bring up before we actually kind of move on, because there's really not much else to say without spoiling anything.
Right.
um yeah, I liked the episode because it was kind of fun in the one spot that you can kind of see in the trailers if you're watching them. Um, I kind of wish I was like, well, if they could have saved that moment, which they kind of had already done a couple of episodes ago for this, then it would probably be a little bit more special. But the whole thing has meaning. But the one thing is, like, you can kind of tell who's going to have the next, and I didn't pick up on that until this episode. Like, you can tell who's going to be the next one on trial by either something that is said or some scene that has been set up in the previous episode. So in the last one we had the one with the character of Alice. There was like
Mm.
this moment that just kind of felt like coming out of Blair when she was talking to Teen, and it was like, all right, because that's setting out what's going on happening in this episode, and then something that happened here is setting up probably what's gonna be the next trial
Got
or
it.
in the next
I don't
episode.
I've been watching it that closely. I may have to go back and check that out, but you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's like, it seems to be corroborated by a couple of of videos that I've seen, but I don't know if they're actually going to keep that up or it's just been these couple, and then it's just like the trail seems to be there, just like much like
Under
the road. So if that is the case, then yeah, that it makes total sense. Like if you know you pay the attention to this one-off, what seems to be a one-off scene of a character, given either some exposition or something, that's like, well, that's clearly gonna come up. Just like there's one character that's been doing some stuff that doesn't make any sense to a lot of people. That's definitely going to come up at some point, but we don't know when. It'll probably be at the end of this series or whatever the case. But we'll get there. Regardless, hey, it's been an alright show. There's though I guess the one last thing I was gonna say is outside of I did not know. I guess I did know, but I did not know most of the cast had pipes like that.
Mm.
Because I know, like, Patti LuPone, Broadway superstar. So
Obviously, right. She's
right,
the one I knew.
right. So it's like,
Right.
and which is, I guess, the other thing I would have to say is like, wait, you mean to tell me they've been having her do backgrounds all this time and not having her up front at any moment yet, you know,
Right.
with a song. But I guess she also acts, so it's not like she's like just just gonna be there for singing. So that was like, okay, how you gonna have this woman there and relegate her to background vocals all the time? But regardless, um, like fun stuff and a lot of cleavage shown. So you know, good stuff, I guess, if we can find it. But we are going to move on to the thing that we really want to talk about, even though we
Oh
can't spoil it
goodness.
that much more. Is Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, season 2, episode 8, which is the finale of the season, which is called Shadow and Flame.
Right. And
And
if
boy, howdy.
you are at all familiar with the Lord of the Rings, specifically the Fellowship of the Ring, Shadow and Flame is a callback to a particular, I believe it's something that Gandalf says.
Correct.
And this episode, and it's funny that Roddy Cat and I had this conversation just our pre-production meeting just before the show started, where we were talking about this episode, and I don't think I knew what was happening when I was first watching this episode, because what turned out to be kind of a cold open was very hot.
Yes.
And
Nice.
it's a gigantic epic scene, and then the credits roll.
It was great.
And then the credits roll. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I was watching this, like, I'm fairly certain I had just started having lunch this afternoon in my office, and I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Right. It was
And,
one of those things like, yo, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. And and I was about to say, and once you get past that point, and just hold that thought, once you get past that point, we're bouncing around, catching up with every single group of characters that we've touched base with this entire season. And with that, we'll continue to go through it, but I'll hand it off to Roddy Cat.
Yeah, which we knew was going to be the case, because like I think we even said it last week. It was like, well, they're going to have to touch on everything else. Like they're just not going to leave stuff just lying out there and not
Mm-hmm.
touch on it. And sure enough, they absolutely did. And a couple of stories intertwined, which
Right, and a couple of
needed to.
stories ended,
Yes.
surprisingly.
Yes. And that open, yeah, that like I said, like I can't say enough good things about that open, because like I just sort of said, it's definitely a callback in a number of them that was from this episode, actually. Or a couple. I ain't gonna say odd number. It's not that many, but there was a couple of just like, okay, you did the things, you said the thing, this happened.
Right. We saw a particular whip wrap around somebody's leg. That was a thing, and I was like, okay, I see you.
Right. You only needed was another sentence to be said right before that, but something just as good happened. So
exactly. Somebody should have said, "You got to run, fool."
Right, fly, you fools, or something. You're right. I was halfway expecting it, but it didn't happen. So that's not really spoiler, because, like I said, it didn't happen. But if you know enough about the movies to know that something happened. But like I said, everything from the whole season, and actually probably from the 2 seasons, so technically, just kind of came back, but came into play in this episode. Uh, I know there was a moment that caused, he said in the pre-production meeting, that caused Agent 70 to groan. I just laughed at it. Because it was like, okay, we were going to get here some kind of way, and and it was like, all right, you're slightly telegraphing it just a bit, but you know what? We needed to get here. It didn't happen when I thought it was. It happened near the end, but it didn't happen at the very end, which I was kind of surprised about.
Right. A certain name gets granted, and it was kind of an interesting way to do it.
Right, and and a certain article of his belongings also comes into play.
Right.
But instead, we end with an Ewok celebration, which I was like, okay. I mean, that's y'all don't have a whole lot to be celebrating right now, but you know what? Hey, you know what? Keep your spirits up. I love it. You know,
Right, right.
'cause-
I mean, listen, all I could think of was Sean Paul. Just give me the light, you know?
right.
Just give me the light.
Right. So, and with that, just kind of like, okay, well, clearly, whatever's going to happen, or whatever is potentially going to happen in the next season is going to be potentially be some shit. Should
Yes.
be.
Yes. It's going to be some hardcore stuff now because we've gotten to the point where over the course of this season, we've, hit the point where a lot of the lore that lays the groundwork for the Fellowship of the Ring and those three stories is coming more and more into the coming more to the fore, right, to the forefront of what we're experiencing in this Rings of Power story.
Right.
So I believe, I don't know if we said this on air, but I said that I fully expect this series to take us right up to a particular point that we saw in flashback. We may see even more than that. We may see like a lead into The Hobbit at this point, but we'll see. We'll see how far the series goes.
I kind of wonder if they. I mean, they very much could, because but they've also been condensing. Well, they've also been condensing stuff to a point to where they very much could. But I'm
Right.
kind of curious if they actually would. You know.
Right. That it remains to be seen, but it sounds like we're both on board to wait for the next season.
Yeah, hopefully it ain't too long, because somebody pointed out, I was like, yeah, if it hopefully it's not going to be a whole another 2-3 years, because I know, actors got probably end up doing something else, and they end up having to, hopefully not, but kill off some other character or recast or whatever,
Right.
like they did at the beginning of this season.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to give once again give a shout out to the elf Rianne, because she had a moment last episode. Um, it's a damn shame how it ended up, but it was a great moment.
Yep.
That being said, yeah, looking forward to next season. I am probably going to end up watching the movies again. Well, let me phrase that: watch the movie, because I haven't watched the Hobbit movies at all ever.
Right.
And then probably going to a rewatch of the original trilogy, I guess you can call it. Because even though technically it's not there, but it still is the way they're with stuff they've with the way they've been touching on things in this series. And I was like, y'all are not slick. Y'all not slick
Right.
at all. But I appreciate
Not,
it.
yes, we're just appreciating the ride at this point. So
exactly. All right, folks. So yeah, like I said, I wish. So this is one of the times I wish we could have done a spoiler cast for it, or a treasure edition for it.
Right. It's it literally came out today.
Right.
So it's a little too soon.
Right. Because there is so much about this episode in general, even impressions of the whole season at large. But about this episode is just worth talking about. Like a certain person getting a certain item and told to go on your way. Like,
right.
Yeah,
right.
You got it.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah. Do that. But yeah. Shout out to Von Gloom, who just made it in chat. Some other YouTube's guy hates you. They do not. I heard you've been doing numbers over there on your stuff, sir. Though I don't believe that for a second. But good to have you with us.
Yes, thank you.
As we go into the books of the week, starting off with Ghost Rider, or excuse me, yeah. Well, wait. It says Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes' special number 1.
Right.
But the cover looks different. It says differently, but we're just going to go with that.
Right. So Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes' special number 1 is broken into 2 stories. The first story, Ofrenda, is written by Carlos Hernandez with art by Moises Hidalgo and colors by Jorge Cortez. The second story, titled Of Wolves and Sheep, is written by Felipe Smith with art by Daniel Bayless and colors by Luis Wences. Both stories help to serve up, more Robbie Reyes stories. The first one is still set firmly in the present, where Robbie is trapped in the God Quarry from the Jason Aaron run on Avengers, and it seems like we are slowly but surely working our way towards a return, but we don't know when that's going to happen just yet. It's obviously This book is obviously timed for the smack dab in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. So, because it is listed, I believe, on the cover as a Voices book.
Correct. Right.
So I
Just
so
missed it.
so that was my right. I didn't read all of the informational stuff that's in the issue, but as soon as I saw that on the cover, my guess was that it was timed for Hispanic Heritage Month. Bottom line, though, that second story does feature what I believe to be a first appearance of a character might be connected to this version of Ghost Rider. So it's a first appearance. You may not be able to find this particular book on the shelves since speculators, go a little nutsy for first appearances. But bottom line, though, I enjoyed this book. I'm always kind of waiting for what they're going to do next with Robbie. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. The fact that we even got this book and we now know, at least we know where he still is,
Right.
kind of is hopeful, because they could have just not done anything. And also, I guess, yes, while it being wedged in the middle of spooky season and Hispanic Heritage Month, I mean, hey, it's a good time for this book to come out one way or the other, I guess. So I guess if, despite it missing one, it did hit another one and it still kind of worked. But that being said, I think you missed a story, sir.
Did I? I
You did.
apologize. I
Yeah,
thought it
because
was
there was
two.
some because
Was it?
I know how you could have done that because I almost did too. Because after that second story, there's like a whole couple of pages of information, but there's actually a story behind there.
I think
Which,
that's what happened.
yeah, because like it almost happened to me. I was like, wait a minute, this seemed like there was because I saw other names to this, and then I had to keep flipping. So that and the last story is written by Melissa Flores, with art by Jan Balzadua and Louise Zavala.
That last story. I see it. I see it. I see it. The roller dirt. But
Yes.
that's the story I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
That's the story. I apologize. Right. So right. As Righty Cat said, by Melissa Flores writing with Jan Basil Dua, art with Luis Zavala, inking. That's the first appearance story.
Right.
So I think I must have
So you did read
bypassed
it, but
the second story, not remembering all of what's in that second story.
which actually kind of brings me to what I was going to say about that because realistically, two of these stories, which should not be a fault of it, two of these stories kind of seem similar because they're both Robbie basically working and trying to get back home to Gabe
Right.
for a
Right.
thing. So it's like, well, they got similar beats. It's just that one of them has a first appearance in it, and the other one is just like, oh, like here's a thing that's kind of a thing from the first story that was that was brought up, but with a little bit more length. So, like I said,
No,
not
but
a, not a,
thanks for picking up on that because I probably just didn't see that second page because the second page of credits is where that the credits for that third story are.
right. So it was like, oh, those, yeah, because like I said, I almost passed it through because of the data, well, the interview, I guess, what it was.
Right.
So Von Gloom says he misses Trad Moore drawing Robbie. He also says about this new character, she is also from the Marvel Champions variant covers, and she will appear again in New Champions.
Ah, okay.
Which wait, is that a thing? The New Champions, or is that uh,
I think we talked about it like a few weeks ago.
maybe we did, I don't remember, but he also asked who the heck watched Gabe when Robbie was stuck in the, well, technically he's still in the God Quarry, and the Avengers are coming to see him. Spoiler alert. But
Right. That's the that Ofrenda story
right,
where the Avengers obviously are keeping tabs on Gabe, but there's another family member that's chipping in a lot.
right, and he got his girlfriend. His Gabe's got his little girlfriend who's just cute. Who's like, nah, she's for real. Which is just like, so so no, she's there taking care of him too. Also,
Right.
New Champions is a thing. Steve Fox is right. Wait, what am I thinking of then? Um, not the Authority. That, the that is kind of the Authority, but again, but it's not. But I'm thinking DC the Authority. It's not that. But it's that young group that was in the Spider-Woman book, uh,
Mhm.
which I think it might be called the Authority. I think I'm thinking of that book.
Yeah, it's not the Authority, but I know what you're thinking of.
Right. So I did not know there was a new Champions book, which we said at the time of that Spider Woman thing was like they don't need to be the champions. So, but either way, um, yeah, that's Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes special number one. We're gonna push over. It's fresh in my head because I did a video, but okay, well we'll check that out. Cool, cool. Next book we got is actually we're gonna go to a new number one. Y'all gonna hear me talking about it.
Mm.
Um, Storm.
Alrighty, so Storm one. This is a hotly anticipated launch for a Storm ongoing. It's written by Marewa Ayodele with art by Lucas Verneck, colors by Alec Guimarães and Fair Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So this book sets up a couple of premises for Storm's ongoing. The first one being that she's kind of in transition between being, um, coming out of the fall of Krakoa and being still connected to the X-Men, but not on an active roster. Um, and obviously they touch upon her impending active membership with the Avengers, but they're setting her up with a new base of operations in a well-known American city that heretofore has not been very popular amongst the superhero set. I'm pretty sure there was probably a group of heroes from the 50 State Initiative based in the ATL, but I think that this might be the first time that we've had a hero basically setting up shop there.
I mean, a major hero, technically, yes, because the
Yeah,
only
like
yes,
a major hero.
yes, because the only other hero that is there at this point is Blade's daughter. That's where
Gotcha.
she's based out of.
And I didn't even know that she was based out of there.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, technically, at this point, she's a major enough hero, but given that last event, but y'all know what I mean.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm a fan of Storm. It is no secret. So anything I say about this book is probably going to be sound too glowing, but it's really not. It's this book is kind of like that Jean Grey book, the way it started, because it's like, oh, hey, I want Storm to have a book as much as the next person, and I still do, and I'm supporting this book because I need to go get my physical copy. But it's kind of one of those things like, okay, one, what are you going to do with her, and how are you going to kick that off? Because now that she's with the Avengers, and her cachet with the mutant folks is high up there. Like, okay, what are you going to do that? And we've gotten shades of that in this issue. So I was like, all right, cool. This is I see what they're doing, but it also seems like they could be setting up a swan song. I don't think that's the case. But they're definitely also setting up a couple of Marvel Legends figures at the end of this book. I will say that much. Um,
It's kind of funny when you mention that part because I kind of glossed over that because it was just a tease,
right.
right? Like, and speaking, and it's funny that you bring in the new direction for the Jean Grey / Phoenix book, and it's funny that there is a very strong spacefaring element to that last part that's
Right.
in this issue. Not spacefaring, but maybe space related.
Yeah.
And it took me by surprise. I'm like, wait, where are they going with this? But obviously, it's just a tease at the end of the
Right.
first issue. So we'll see where Murewa Ayudele takes this.
Mm-hmm. Before I get into something that Von Gloom says, yeah, there was also definitely some pretty good splash pages. I enjoyed the art for the most part, and I don't normally say that about art because I'm more of the words fella on this here podcast. But there was some pretty good splash pages.
No, Wernick's got some chops. He's been,
Oh
like
yeah,
the
totally.
fact that they put Wernick on this book means that they're giving it like full throated support.
Right. They got faith in the book because of it. So so that is very much hopeful, and there are definitely fans that are coming out in support for it, which you love to see. And I mean, I'm hoping this book continues. And the writer has been out there a couple times teasing some stuff for the next issue, as I saw a little bit ago. So he's out there doing his thing, and I appreciate it. Um,
Oh,
but
so it's a gentleman?
yes, unless there's
I didn't
some,
I wasn't sure.
I believe that's the case. Yeah. Actually, now you got me. You got me
Oh
questioning that.
no! I'm
Um,
sorry.
no, don't, because I should not assume one way or another. But I could have sworn that person is. Well, I'll check on that while we talk about something else. But
All right.
um, what did he say? Oh, Von Gloom says. So yeah, that was the other thing that I was wondering. So we get introduced to her new living space. Um, which I was like, didn't you get? Didn't X Factor teach you enough about that? But I know you were in a different place when that was going on. So, but it was just kind of funny. It was like, okay, she got a lot of room. Where the heck is she? Comes to find out, she got the whole she's a lot of space in the sky, as it turns
Yep.
out. And as Von Gloom says, the writer just revealed that her base is mobile, which yeah, you can see that, and houses endangered animals and plants. You could also see that. It's the size of 5 New York blocks per the writer, which realistically, where she's Atlanta's downtown ain't that big, and that's where she's kind of got it parked. So,
Right.
so
I
that's
mean,
something,
it's like a mini helicarrier, you know.
right?
The helicarriers are pretty big, so it's like a smaller one.
Her big bad was in wait, her big bad was in Gods. I don't remember that, but then again, there's a
Oh,
lot
really?
of Gods I don't remember. This is what Von Gloom is saying. So he's also confirmed that she teleported. Well, yeah, she did teleport. Like I said, it's giving X Factor vibes with that part. But hey, it's a decked out pad or a spot, and he also confirms that the writer is a dude. So okay, that was what I thought.
Okay.
So I
I
was
didn't
like,
know. No, I mean, it wasn't something I could tell from the name, so I asked.
sure. No, I get that. You're right, but so it's no fault. So, but I was like, I could have sworn I've seen them. I had seen that, seen that particular thing. But anyway, um, but yeah, Storm number one. It's a good strong start. I believe it is a potential click of the week for me. Um, um, definitely has me curious about one angle they're going with this because they kind of teased. I do remember that part being teased like a month or two ago, or when the a particular angle that this book is going. Um, let's go. So it's like, okay, so that's how they're going to handle that. But what are they going to do when it gets to critical time, if it gets to that point? Because I'm very curious about that. Because I know I've been seeing a couple of things about potential things that could happen to this character, or that was supposed to happen to this character this year, and I think that thing that is something. He says he also cleared up the ending, which I think I did see that earlier. Yeah, on Twitter. So yeah, he was out there like talking about the ending of the book. Early. So that's that. But if you're at all interested in this book, you should definitely check it out. Give it some love. It is. I would honestly say that it is worth a shot. It is worth your time to read. Um, that's just me personally saying it, and that's not necessarily. Well, there's also me saying it as a fan, but it's me saying it as like, no, I'm just taking the fan part out of it and saying, okay, there's some
Mhm.
interesting things in this book. And yeah, like yeah, it's more or less the same deal as the Phoenix. So yeah, it's like we kind of had. that part you could kind of see if you had been reading both of those books, which we have. So, which is fine because, like I said, that Jean Grey book so far has still been decent. So, I expect no less from this particular book. You got something else on it? Because I don't think you said too much anything. So.
No, I mean I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as high on it as you are.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It's just a matter of seeing where the story goes.
Right. Which is the case, especially in the first arc, because it was like, and when whatever that thing teased at the end, is going to come into play, because I feel like that other thing is probably going to get addressed at some point first, or that's going to be the running theme thing for a minute. So yeah. That being the case, we are going to go to our last book that we have in common, which sticks to the X corner in X-Men #5.
X-Men #5 is written by Jed MacKay with pencils by Ryan Stegman. Inks are by J.P. Mayer, Livesay, and Ryan Stegman. Colors are by Marte Gracia, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, interestingly, we get a little bit of MCU crossover in this X-Men issue.
Mm-hmm.
But it centers around the current mission of this branch of the X-Men, right? They're, the group that's led by Cyclops is pursuing a certain mission, and Psylocke, this is Quanon, and Quentin Quire are tasked with performing some psychic, like a psychic intervention. And what they discover is far more than what they bargained for, and they basically come up with, in one issue, what the entire plot of the first 4 issues has been about. That's been kind of brewing and simmering over the course of the first 4 issues. So in this issue, you finally find out what's been happening, why this particular group of X-Men have been experiencing what they've been experiencing, and we get a hint at least one of the big bads behind it. And with that, I'll hand it off to Radicat.
Yeah,
And that big bad is a character who just recently made their debut on the big screen.
so I said that in my notes. Well, I didn't say that specific thing in the notes, but I was like, oh, okay, this movie, that, gotcha. Here we go.
Right.
So I was like,
Right.
all right, yeah. So I mean, yeah, for the most part, 87 said the most of it. Like that whole MCU leaning character coming into play. In this book is, I guess, probably shouldn't be a surprise at this point. But yeah, I guess there was, the only thing left is the whys in the hows, or not even the hows realistically, but the hows of excuse me, the whys. Are they
Right.
doing this? I guess that is the big issue here.
We actually saw the return of of what used to be a slur, like at least in X-Men comics. It was an F word, but there was a time when it was like verboten to say, but
Right.
now it's back.
I guess so. Yeah. But yeah, hey, no surprise, Jed MacKay's and crew's still doing their thing on this one. So we'll see how
Yeah, they're weaving, right. They're definitely still weaving the story, but
mm-hmm.
this is a big issue because it, like I said, kind of weaves together what's been happening in those first 4 issues.
Right. And what they're going to end up dealing with in the next X amount of issues at that. So, well, we're still along here for the ride for that one. This this still remains the big 2, 3 books of the X corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. X-Men and
Uncanny.
Uncanny
Right.
and
Right.
what's the third one?
That's the other thing. I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, no, I guess it's just 2, but I guess if there is a third one, it'll probably, I mean, who even knows at this point what the third one's going to
Right.
be?
Well, I mean, we'll still, they're still throwing out so many X books.
Right.
We'll have to see how it all shakes out. because who knows? It might be Storm, it might be Phoenix. You don't know. They're putting out a lot of books coming out of the Rise from the Ashes. So
Right.
see what sticks.
Could
You
be
know,
NYX.
my gut says, I was about to say, I apologize. Hold that thought.
Hold on.
My gut says I've kind of figured there's a couple of books that won't stick. Two of them being X Factor and X Force, but that's just my gut feeling.
See, yeah, that was which is also kind of telling, considering we couldn't think of either one of those books right off the bat. So, I'm kind of agreeing with you. I feel like X Force is probably going to stick around maybe longer than X Factor probably will at this point, but
Right.
who's to say? And I know NYX is a point of contention for I don't think I'm speaking but he's in the chat. He can speak for himself. That NYX is a point of contention for Von Gloom,
Mm,
who's harkening back to the days of Ecstatic, which I'm not. I don't here for that. I mean, I'm not here. I don't know those days, so I guess that's a you're on that.
right.
Like, yeah, the 3 Wolverine books is a whole nother thing, but they're gonna flood the Wolverine market and the Deadpool market, which I guess we have
Right.
news on part of
But
that.
the Wolverine, I was about to say Wolverine. There's one ongoing and a couple of out of continuity books. So
Right.
that's not a big surprise,
Yeah.
right? That Hickman book is in its own weird timeline. So
Yeah. Yeah. This is true, but still, but there's going to be more. Where'd that come from? So,
right. Anyway, all right.
anyways,
Like,
but yeah, that was X-Men 5, and we're still on the ride for this one. And with that, we are going to go into rapid fire.
yeah, rapid fire review time, folks, because both Roddycat and I have a lot of books to go through. So it's time to spin up that minigun.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, rapid fire review time starts with Absolute Power number 4 of 4 from DC. It's written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Ariana Mar, freelancing. So I'm very much not going to talk about what happens in Absolute Power number 4, simply because Roddycat is probably going to binge read all of these now that all 4 have come out. And the bottom line here is that the story obviously reaches its conclusion. There are a couple of things that obviously come out of the story that lead into upcoming stories in the main DCU. Interestingly, though, what follows on the heels of Absolute Power number 4 is DC All In Special number 1. This is a one-shot. This is written by Joshua Williamson and Scott Snyder with art by Daniel Sampere, colors by Alejandro Sanchez. The center spread colors are by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters are by Steve Wands. So this one-shot comes right on the heels of Absolute Power number 4, comes right on the heels of like the last cliffhanger panel of Absolute Power number 4. But the main focus of this issue is not that, but rather how we get into the DC the DC All In Ultimate, the DC All In universe, right? This is truly the origin story of the DC All In universe in one shot issue. So if you are interested at all in how that happens and how that comes about, read this issue. It's a lot. It took me a while to get through this afternoon, but I thought it was fairly well worth it because I'm intrigued, not intrigued enough to buy them all, but I'm intrigued enough to keep reading it.
Right.
Next up,
before you get into the next one, I'm just going to put this out here. We're probably going to make the ultimate joke for a while.
a lot.
Yes.
A lot. Because what I did not spoil is that this is very much in the vein of the current version of the Ultimate Universe, where the current version of the Ultimate Universe is created in the eyes of in the mold of the maker's vision, where and this DC All In / Ultimate Universe is created in the vision of another popular villain character.
Mm-hmm.
So, in DC. Next up is Daredevil number 14. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Luigi Zagaria, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, I'm going to say this is a candidate for Click of the Week for me because it starts off with Matt basically looking to maybe give up the priesthood. We'll see if that actually happens. But, there's some really, there's some really great dialogue in this issue between Matt Murdock and Elektra, both Daredevils at this point. And there is an interesting kind of fight getting ready to happen between these devils that are looking to confront Matt Murdock and, Matt himself as he's trying to figure out what to do with his current status quo, whether or not that's going to last, and we'll see how long that lasts. Next up is Immortal Thor number 16. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Jan Basil-Dua, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. This also is a candidate for Click of the Week. I am enjoying Immortal Thor in the sense that it throws a lot of how we see Thor on its head. He is right now a persona non grata on Earth, and that plays very much into the story. There's obviously the overhanging threat of the good folks or the bad folks at Roxxon. And if you're familiar with those characters, and what's been happening in Immortal Thor, you may want to read this and see how everything stacks up. We get a bunch of lesser villains. They're not. Listen, Thor does not have the greatest villains gallery, rogues gallery, but it's interesting the group of villains that are brought in as kind of a not a Sinister Six, but like a villain team to help take down Thor. Next up is Spider-Gwen The Ghost-Spider number 6. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Paolo Villanelli, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. Surprisingly enough, this was almost a candidate for Click of the Week, except that I'm just not a fan of where Stephanie Phillips is going with this because she's setting up kind of a Romeo and Juliet type thing, like a Capulets and Montague type thing, kind of, maybe, but we'll see how that goes. But I really like how she's writing Gwen and who she interacts with in this issue, namely Jessica Jones. I really liked it, but I'm just not a fan of this whole, this overarching storyline. And that's it for me.
All right, these Doctor Doom variant covers are interesting. Some of them, anyway.
Yeah, I saw there's a Doom, a Doom cover. I think it was out last week, with the Dino Doom.
Yes. I think that's the one that's kicked him off. But yeah, there's a couple of them for this week for a couple of books.
Dino Doom one was fun to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see. It'd be a better way. Von Gloom says feels like they're rehashing Ghostbox. We're talking about X-Men. Got to mention that one. NYX is more intriguing than X Factor in his opinion. And
yeah,
I can agree with that also. Is DC's God's Wrath nerfed? But for my stuff, we start off with My Adventures with Superman, number 5 of 6. Written by Josie Campbell, showrunner of the show, of course. Art by Pablo M. Collar, colors by Nick Filardi, letters by Lucas Gattoni. So, after the events of last issue, where the Deathstroke, basically, who has not been named Deathstroke this whole time during the series, if I remember correctly, shot the Amazo robot, things start to happen. People start taking things out of overreacting about stuff because of it, even though it was partially their fault. And Clark tries to handle the situation the best he can while Jimmy and Lois and the parents try to defend Cadmus from Checkmate and Team 7. Mostly from Checkmate, but from Waller's crew. So potential click of the week for me. Potential Birds of Prey, number 14, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Sammy Basri, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So this is the start of a new mission that has to do with one Cassandra Cain going undercover at this company slash maybe possibly front called the Ninth Day Corporation. If you are knowledgeable in DC, you may know who that is if they've been long-standing, if that is a long-standing thing. But apparently there are some Amazons missing, so the Birds of Prey, who are pretty much on the hook thanks to the first arc of this volume because of that first mission, are helping out the Amazons trying to find some of their folks. And they got 2 new team members in this issue by the names of, and one of them may be familiar with to you or not, Grace Choi, who joins the group, and another person named Onyx. Now that one I'm not familiar with, but hey, you say that about a lot of people.
It's time to get live.
First thing I thought immediately. But so yeah, them and again, and Grace Choi is Amazonian. I guess this other person is too, because I'm not sure where they coming from. The funniest part about this issue is that they're sparred up against Big Barda, and I feel like you can get how that goes off, but it's a fun read, and that's which is why I like Birds of Prey, because there's a lot of sometimes it's some fun stuff, especially with Barda in the book. So it's cool, but at the end of it, we get one part of the mystery solved, but this is going to go into the rest of the book and the hows and the whys and whatnot part. So looking forward to that. Next up, Plastic Man No More, book 2 of 4. Excuse me. So this is written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Alex Lenz and Jacob Edgar, colors by Marcelo Maiocolo, and letters by Becca Carey. So yeah, if you remember me talking about the first issue of this probably 2 weeks ago, Plastic Man is kind of unraveling or melting or some form of that because of an incident that happened with the Justice League. And they ain't paying him no attention because they think he's a big joke. So he's kind of taking it in his own hands as to figure out why he's essentially becoming no more. And in this particular issue, well, there's a plan that he cooked up, thanks to help from a well-meaning doctor. And it's Plastic Man making a plan to do a thing. And if you know anything about Plastic Man's origins, he used to be a hoodlum, so he kind of slides back into that for a quick second because of this plan, which doesn't necessarily go all that well. Like, it kind of goes well, but in certain parts of it does not. This is a Black Label book, so I don't think anything in here is going to stick. But what happens in the book was like, well, you kind of stepped in it now there, pal. But pretty good read so far. Next book. Ultraman X The Avengers, or Times the Avengers, number 2 of 4, written by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom, art by Francesco Mana, color artist Matt Mella, and letters by VC's Ariana Mara. I got BC on here for some strange reason. So yeah, this is the Ultraman Avengers crossover, which is definitely not in continuity. I think it's safe to say that. Galactus is coming, but before that, a couple of kaiju kind of roll up. So the team who was devising a plan for Galactus, kind of had to split the resources to take care of that, which they do. While some folks continue to work on the original plan, you got a couple of folks who make sense taking care of the kaiju problem. Spoiler alert: one of them is Ultraman. Which one of the Avengers helps out? Hey, you can read and find out. Also, one of the other Avengers kind of stokes the fires of innovation. You can pretty much guess who that could be. In some of the Ultra Guard, as they're being called, who have been made honorary Avengers when things start to go down. And of course, Sam, being the icon that he is, has to make the speech. Not only has to make the speech, but also makes the call at the end of this, and it's pretty good because Galactus is involved. So, but yeah, I've been enjoying that so far. So I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of this story. Next book, Ultimate Black Panther #9. By Brian Hill, art by Stefano Caselli, color artist David Curio, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So Storm and Killmonger are doing a mission for T'Challa, which involved seeking out a certain magic user of note. But what they find when they get to the place where the person is supposed to be is not who they went there to find. In fact, if that last page of the last, if that last page is an indication, we might have some potential, another potential godlike being coming into play. Because at first I saw that last page, I was like, wait, that can't be this person who's rolling around in Ultimate X-Men, but I don't think it is. But there's some things around that may suggest some other folks who would definitely know a thing or two about magic, but definitely not the person they were seeking out. So meanwhile, T'Challa's kind of fighting himself in a way, much like he did in Blood Hunt because of events that happened last issue. But Shuri tries to talk him down, and that works some kind of way. I'm not going to tell you how though. So yeah, you can tell like Brian Hill's kind of taking this book a little further, which he had admitted to on Twitter, as I've seen. So yeah, he's putting out some things that's going to play out going forward in this book that seem potentially interesting. Next up and last for me is, which is actually kind of funny because of for reasons I'm about to get into, Star Wars Battle of Jakku Insurgency Rising, #1 of 4. The reason why I say it's funny is because we were talking at the when Star Wars Ongoing ended, last week or week before last, so it was 2 weeks ago because Darth Vader was last week, about what's going to happen after that and where they're going to go after that, which this was the book that answers that question in a way, and with the time frame that they're going to go into, which in this particular case is after Return of the Jedi, specifically really close after Return of the Jedi, given this book. In fact, I should give the art credit. Give the creative team credit. So the whole book is written by Alex Segura, but there's 2 different stories here, and the art was done by 2 different people. The first story was Leonard Kirk, and the second story is Stefano Raffaele. Color artist for the first story was Rachel Rosenberg. The second is Alex Sinclair, and the whole thing was lettered by VC's Joe Caramagna. So yeah, like I said, the first story basically takes the, hey, you remember the Ewok celebration? It seems like they're still there, but But this is very close, seemingly very close, and they want you to know this because it's even on the cover that that is very much takes place after the events of Return of the Jedi. So, which means clean up for the cleaning up the the remnants of the Empire. But of course, there are folks who are not going to go softly into that good night, and that's where the first story and the second story play a part in this because the first story kind of give you some movements in a certain area of the galaxy, and the tidings therein of that someone brings, and the second story is a little bit more backstory about the adversary um, of the first story, and I guess this story overall, who let's just say has some very dubious role models for themselves, which they go to lengths to set up the way they do. So you can tell this person is particularly ruthless for reasons, and like I said, the role models that the the obvious role models that they put out here shouldn't be that big of a surprise as to why the person is the way this is, amongst other things. But yeah, so like I said, this is a story that is taking place after that last ongoing. Now, what comes after this? I know things have been said, but you know, we don't know if and or when the next ongoing is going to come about. So we got this right now, and with right now we have Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs up is. I have my candidates.
Okay,
I have my candidates. They're kind of like the old faithful candidates for me.
sure.
Daredevil and Immortal Thor. I did like that Storm. I did like that Ghost-Spider. Even that X-Men was kind of interesting. The McKay X-Men with the Psylocke and Quentin Quire. Was actually interesting. And believe it or not, the two DC books that roll right into each other, Absolute Power and DC All In Special, were pretty good too. But I think for me, at least in the stories that I've been invested in, I think Daredevil and Immortal Thor were pretty strong this week. Just not even like big battle issues per se, but just really setting the stage for continuing the strong stories.
Gotcha.
How about yourself?
For me, the Storm book, that's one. Birds of Prey, believe it, with that for me, that is my one of my standbys. Been here long enough, so there is that. I yeah, X-Men was pretty decent, even though y'all know I can't stand Quentin Quire, but that Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes book was good because like, hey, you know what? Anytime we get to see Robbie again, because we haven't really seen him in a while, it's good, and like I said earlier, hopeful. Hoping they do a little bit more with old boy. So therein is that. I think those. Well, Ultraman X Avengers 2 was all right, but I'm not sure if it, given what I've already said, makes the list. But I have been enjoying it. Are you still thinking about it, or you got yours?
I think I'm going to go with Daredevil.
Okay. Daredevil 14.
Daredevil number 14 for me.
There's that, and that's the regular cover. The other cover was the Stormbreaker one with Storm on it. Haha. Hmm. I'm going to go with Storm number one. It sounds like you voted with your heart. Nothing. But I mean, it's always going to be there. There is merit to my madness. That being said, I'm really quick. I want to say that there's a couple of books we didn't get this week, even though it's a kind of light week. There was I would implore some folks that to try out I Lie Popeye. I hadn't read this week's issue, but the story is from Massive, which we don't get Massive books, but so I would have to go to the comic shop to get that one, and I didn't have a chance to do that this week. But I like what they're doing in there and like the art. Marcus Williams is, I believe, doing the writing and the art, and then I've come across the dude at cons before, who seems all right. But yeah, it's an amusing story and an interesting use of the Popeye license. You know, some things play, but it's like it's a little bit. It feels partially anime in a way, which is kind of cool. There was another book I was going to mention that we can get the one to talk about, but if I think about it later, then I'll bring it up. Because right now we are going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today! And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news. We start off with Stephen Amell talks about Green Arrow's canceled movie plans. Apparently, so in a recent appearance on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, Amell said that he joked, quote unquote, about his return as Green Arrow with Arrowverse producer Greg Berlanti. There's a quote here. I think that it would be wonderful one of these days to go back and do something that was in a medium where I could break bones and drop an F-bomb. I guess he's talking about that because of that wrestling show that he did with that people liked, which actually wasn't bad, actually. And just sort of go the hard R rating version of Arrow. So I guess he's somewhat doing an R-rated movie of which. Yeah, and Rosenbaum suggested a movie, and he's like, that'd be fun. So they're trying to put that out there, and you know, never happened for good reasons. Next up,
Lanterns. Aaron Pierre and Stephen James are in the mix to play Jon Stewart in DC Studios' HBO series. Kyle Chandler, as we reported before, is already on board to star as classic DC character Hal Jordan. Okay.
We did talk about that. Yeah, I don't know. So if you're watching the video version, you see the picture of these two dudes. One of them looks like they got a fake mustache, and I apologize to that person if he ever sees this, but I don't, whatever. Neither one of these, like, clearly they're going for young versions of a young version of Jon Stewart. Neither one of these guys look
I was about to say, since they're casting a slightly older Hal.
right. Neither one of these dudes look, for lack of a word, bulky enough. You know, because Jon Stewart is not necessarily like the most swole dude, but you know, military man's got got a little bit of got some muscles at least. You know,
right. But my understanding is that Aaron Pierre does a good job in that Netflix movie Rebel Ridge. So you know, he plays a ex-military or former military in that.
Right.
So
which, there you go.
You know, I would think that you know, he has that part down. Right. It's just not. I think maybe this photo just isn't that flattering in that regard.
Right, and the other dude is in that Snowfall show, which I know there are some people who like it, but I don't know too many people who talk about it. So yeah, I mean, you know, hey, it is what it is, man. Next up, though, My Adventures with Superman star post major season 3 update. Yeah, Jack Quaid was out there on the Twitters, talking about that they were working on. I guess, well, in between him talking about that and Lower Decks, which is coming up soon, which I'm kind of happy about, even though it is the last season. But yeah, he was talking about that they're starting out work on that. In fact, I believe this is the Instagram post. Yeah, where he's in the studios. Yep, now recording 1 week ago. It's my super hashtag my super, Adventures with Superman season 3. So cool. Next up,
Alrighty. Next up, dynamic duo James Gunn's DC Studios announces Batman spin-off movie about the Robins. So, the original Boy Wonder Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, the second Robin, are teaming up in a just announced animated movie titled Dynamic Duo. DC Studios co-head James Gunn announced the Batman spin-off on social media earlier this week on Tuesday, describing the Swaybox animated feature as a mix of animation, puppetry, and CGI. Okay.
that's a weird mix, but all right. Also, I'm kind of surprised Super Sons didn't happen before this, or
Mm.
for something like this. So, anywho, Agatha All Along creator on that Mephisto name drop quote: "We're always playing with the audience." So basically, this is it's mostly a speculation piece, so we won't go into that. But there's a couple of quotes here. One from Aubrey Plaza, who once again good playing crazy characters. I can't say everything about my character now, but I'll say that there's a lot of layers. There are all kinds of layers. Who tease? I wanted to bring something. Excuse me. I wanted to try to bring some kind of chaotic energy and a spontaneity to it that would keep Agatha on her toes and just have fun playing in the dynamic. Which, you know what? Hey, working so far. And then the showrunner Jock Schaefer was basically saying, "Hey, with these shows, so often there is something that is at once a joke and a wink and a nod, and actually has something legitimate underneath it." Purposely talking about certain theories that are out there about certain folks that may or may not be involved or come to be involved. As we know, Mephisto is a character who's very wrapped up in Agatha's storyline. I mean, people have to watch, but we're always playing with the audience in that way. So, little tease out there about that. The theorists are already on board, so you know. So we'll see what happens at the end of the show. Next up, though,
Right. So, in an interview with Collider for SCAD Animation Fest, Gendy Tartakovsky, the creator behind Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack and Star Wars: The Clone Wars, his version of the animated series, revealed that he worked with the MCU and Jon Favreau in helping lay out the final battle in Iron Man 2. That works.
also kind of makes a lot of sense if you remember that battle.
All right.
So, but yeah, it sounded like there was something else in the works that didn't work out, which led to this. Him working on Iron Man 2.
Right. Because he was looking to pitch something animated, but he ended up helping work on Iron Man 2 instead.
Yeah, it was doing storyboards and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's cool. Did not know that. Next up, some sad news. In fact, I'm going to take both of these, so we can just go ahead and get them dealt with. Chris Christopherson, singer, songwriter, and actor, dies at 88. Some of us may know him as Whistler from the Blade movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we're bringing him up here. Yeah. I think people like Wesley Snipes and other folks have been, saying condolences and whatnot when it happened or after it happened. So there is that. And the next story, which really has nothing to do with comics, but John Amos, most folks may know him from Good Times and other shows, but mostly Good Times. Let's face it. Has passed away at 84.
Right.
Now,
and well, go ahead. I'll add on.
The interesting thing about this is that what we find out in the story is that he died in August, and we're just finding out. So he died August 21st in Los Angeles, and apparently, and there's some drama about that, according to what I saw on Twitter. But I'm not sure the validity of it. It sounds like he died alone, and his family wasn't there, and somebody posing as his publicist, and just it was out there or whatever. I don't know. And his daughter was out there talking, who brought this up in the last day or two. So it's like, I don't know, man, it's stuff crazy. But yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's too bad. That's too bad. I mean, I know John Amos, obviously from Good Times, but I was a little on the young side for Good Times,
Hmm.
and I did, I knew of him and watched him there, but he was obviously Cleo McDowell from Coming to America,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, and we all know I'm a huge fan of The West Wing, and he played Admiral Fitzwallace, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in The West Wing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was, he had such a great impact on the first season and the first several episodes of the show. So I still see him obviously when I do, various levels of West Wing rewatches. So,
Right.
it's such a great character.
He's always been good at playing an imposing / dad figure. I did. There
Mhm.
was a clip that somebody played that he was on Martin, which I don't remember playing Tommy's dad. I was like, I don't. And of course, he was a military dude. So,
Right.
and I was like, okay, I don't remember that episode, but all right. But also, you have to be of a certain vintage to know this, and it's the way I grew up is that I know this. But he also played Kansas City Mac in, I believe, was it Uptown Saturday Night? Uh, you know what? Now I'm forgetting. I shouldn't have said anything. But yeah, it was either Uptown Saturday Night or Let's Do It Again. I can't remember. I think it was Let's Do It Again. But regardless, rest in peace, sir. And of course, there was a lot of people doing the Florida Evans damn, damn, damn clip because of
Yeah.
his passing. So, yeah, I was one of them. So I can't I can't say much. Anyway, next up.
Alrighty, so apparently Andrew Garfield recently spoke with Esquire magazine about what it would take for him to reprise his role as Spider-Man in the future, and he mentioned that it was really healing for him to put the Spider-Man suit back on and be part of No Way Home, and he said he would 100% come back if it was the right thing, if it's additive to the culture, if there's a great concept or something that has not yet been done before, that's unique and odd and exciting and that you can sink your teeth into. He loves the character and it brings joy. If part of what he brings is joy, then he'd be joyful in the return. Cool.
Yeah, to which anytime he's talked about it, he's kind of said that stuff. So that's good to hear. He was the only one who didn't get 3 movies.
Right.
So, and I know there had been talks of maybe that happening, but I doubt if that's ever going to ever happen. I know
No,
it's
they gave him his moments in No Way Home, and that really
basically,
paid off.
basically. And yeah, but that's also what sparked the
Right.
conversation about getting another one. So, but like I said, I doubt if it was going to happen. I don't know. I've always liked his Spider Man. I never liked his Peter Parker because it was a little too manic for me. But
Right.
but
No, I
yeah,
get that. I can see that.
yeah. But the movies were great. I mean, the movies were good though. I mean, nothing's going to
I
stop
don't
Spider
know
Man.
about the second one.
Well, I mean, in relation to, let's say, Spider Man 3.
Yeah, that's not fair.
What's fair these days? But
I know.
still, yeah. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, but I'm agreeing. I'm
I
not
mean,
saying
I
that the movies
honestly
didn't have faults.
remember sitting in the theater at the end of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, asking a buddy of mine, who I watched lots of comic book movies with, like, what the hell did we just watch?
There was some of that. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, you're right. But
So, I really can't. I don't know if I even had that kind of reaction with Spider-Man 3, but I probably did. I just don't remember it.
well, and that tells enough tell right there.
Right.
Yes, Von Gloom Collider still exists. Next up, though, Nicolas Cage has been featured in the first photos from that Spider-Man spinoff in here. That's definitely not necessary. But so the show is going to be coming to MGM Plus, which is a streaming service in the glut of streaming services that I'm pretty certain that not many people have, unless somehow they got it with for free or something. I don't know, but it would have better luck being on Amazon or something. But I guess you know what, it is what it is. But apparently, hey, there was a photo out there of him chilling, and if that thing's still happening, I would rather see the Silk show. That's still up in the air. Next up,
Oh, what are we up to now?
uh, Amazon first two
Amazon.
seasons.
Amazon just put the first 2 seasons of one of its best animated fantasy shows on YouTube for free, and that is The Legend of Vox Machina. And it's on YouTube ahead of the premiere of the animated show's 3rd season over on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, people love some Critical Role, so they've been doing things with that, and hey, good on them. Who asked for a Spider-Man Noir live action? Sony, because they got to keep that because they got to keep that license up.
That's right.
I'm just gonna go ahead and call this anime corner, even though it's not. But go ahead and spin that stinker.
Alrighty.
Transmute.
I need to read that last that Galactor book that came out. Watch the full trailer for Amazon's live-action Yakuza adaptation. It features Kiryu, Majima, Nishiki, and the franchise's other beloved characters, which you pretty much said them all. So folks that don't know, Yakuza, aka Like a Dragon, is a video game property of note for Sega at this point. There's some gold in those things. What can I say? Even though they're long ass games. But yeah, there's a trailer out there for it. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. I haven't watched it yet, and I'm very curious of how Kiryu and crew is going to be portrayed, and whether they're going to do some of the video game stuff in here. Apparently, let's see. Amazon is making the first 3 episodes of Like a Dragon Yakuza available for streaming starting on October 24th. The last 3 episodes, wow, okay, they're just balls out with it. The last 3 episodes will come out on October 31st. So this is grand opening, grand closing with this one.
Oh no.
So yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to that. I don't may touch on it a little bit once we get to that point if I get a chance to watch it. But yeah, I don't know. Live action stuff is kind of iffy. So if they get the right amount of crazy in this, it'll be worth it. Next up, though.
So, in surprise news to me, The Hollywood Reporter posted this past week that Amazon MGM Studios is moving forward with the live action Voltron project, which it describes as a feature film and has cast Daniel Quinn Toy as a lead actor. Quinn Toy served as Tom Holland's understudy and as Paris in the West End production of Romeo and Juliet this past spring in London. Okay.
Wow, notable. So I am also kind of with Agent 70 in the fact that this is news for me, but I also have known for a while that they've been trying to do a live action Voltron for years. So the fact that there's still fire in the air for that one, and seemed like something closer than what it's been outside of that mask thing, also, which they're still trying to do, is still out there. That is the surprise. So apparently, according to this, Amazon was in talks for it, but I guess it didn't happen. And well, yeah, Amazon was in talks for it in 2022, along with Warner Brothers, Universal, and several other studios. So it's probably still up in the air for that stuff. And there's also a typo here. Will we finally see a live action Voltron? Who even knows? Max strikes a major deal to expand his anime catalog. So the deal was struck with Unext, whatever that is, and the deal. Let's see, it's a Japanese thing. Okay, the platform is one of the biggest streaming services in Japan, according to this article, and Max has signed a deal to bring its content to Max overseas, so here in the States, basically. In return, Unext will share some of its licensed programs with Max globally, and that includes a number of anime titles. Meanwhile, Max has taken off some more cartoons off of their site, even after the closing of the Cartoon Network site from this past September 30th, which basically closed. They ended up closing that down. So they took off like Gumball and a few other thing. And I think the Cartoon Network site says, "Hey, you want to see these cartoons? Go to Max." But again, they just took a lot of these off. So Von Gloom says, so Max purged its classic animation to get Japanese anime. You know, Warner Brothers don't know what the hell they're doing. Next up.
Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League anime film reveals its cast and visual for Joker and Harley. So Warner Brothers Japan revealed the new visual and cast members on Friday for Joker, this past Friday, for Joker and Harley Quinn for Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League, its new Batman Ninja CG anime film. Wataru Takagi and Ri Kugimiya will reprise their roles from Batman Ninja as Joker and Harley Quinn, respectively. Okay. So, there's a list here of cast members. I'm not going to read them all, but, I watched the first Batman Ninja.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not exactly, you know, uh, waiting with bated breath for this, but okay.
Yeah, I think you're not the only ones probably with that sentiment. I have not watched it, so I don't know yet. But that is a very anime visual, which I know that's what they're going for, because I feel like I've seen if you watch the video version, you can see what I'm talking about of Joker and Harley. I feel like I've seen that in other actual anime, so this could be an homage to one of those. But yeah.
Right.
Says Love is a monster. Yeah, as long as Batman still does ninjutsus. I don't know. Well, I didn't watch it, so I guess if that happened, then sure. Next up.
Is you.
Oh,
Want me to take it?
sure, go for it.
So this is a My Hero Academia story. So an exclusive new My Hero Academia, You're Next. That's the upcoming straight to theater movie. Clip gives Bakugo and Class 1A their time to shine. So you can watch this. The North American release date is officially set for October 11th, 2024. I gotta reach out to my buddy at Boss Jones to see if he wants to make time to watch this.
Right.
I don't know if we're going to go into movie protocol or if we're just going to make time when it's not a Thursday. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's next Friday. So
Yeah.
last Thursday. So yeah, we'll see. Um,
Right. And soon I was about to say, and then right after we're on the heels of whatchamacallit, Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Um, something else I was gonna say about this, and I don't remember what it is. I know there's people always mad at anime stuff for anime doing anime things. I think between this and JJK, people are upset about something. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, they're ending. They're ending because the manga ended just now.
It's not just that though. No, it was about something happening in near the ending, or well, JJK. It's with some character didn't get what they deserved or something like that, or get the shine they deserved,
Yep.
some mess like that. But
Yep.
yeah, like I said, always something.
Yeah.
And actually, this will go back to something that Von Gloom asked. But go ahead and do the story first. Oh yeah, you did that. No, I'm tired, y'all. The fall 2024 anime preview guide is here. Thanks to Anime News Network, and you can see what's coming. I don't know if some of this we've talked about previously. I know people are waiting for that Uzumaki um, thing because of the Ito crowd. Anything else notable here? The stuff still coming back. Jada. I think Blue Lock is probably, it's not on this list, but I think that might be a thing for some folks. But yeah, Uzumaki seems to. Oh well,
Dan.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was getting to that because Von Gloom asked about that. But and to answer your question, Von Gloom, which was, have we seen Dan? I have not. I don't know if Agent 70 has.
Nope, not yet.
So yeah,
Not yet.
yeah.
I may have to interrupt my latest rewatch of Haikyuu, so we'll see.
Jesus Christ. I mean, we knew it was gonna happen, so I shouldn't be surprised. But oh, okay, Dun is that joint. Okay, I feel like that sounds like another anime that I've actually watched. Not Blue Exorcist. That might be Blue Exorcist, but something along those lines. Either way, I assume it must be good if you're asking that, Von Gloom. Whatnot. I actually didn't even know it was out, to be totally honest. But you know,
well, we know it was leaked, so
oh well, yes, we do definitely know that.
so you know, it was just a matter of time until they finally released it officially.
Yeah, true that. All right, next up though, let's say we're staying into anime slash, but we're getting into comic news
All right.
technically.
All right, I guess I'll take it.
Yes.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will be having a major crossover with Naruto later this fall, and the artist behind the series dropped a sneak peek at the highly anticipated team up with some special new art. Masahi Kishimoto's Naruto is now officially celebrating the 25th anniversary of the manga's original debut in Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. So we're going to see lots of fun. We're likely going to see lots of fun projects now that they're celebrating this anniversary. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X, or just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto, is a fun team up between IDW Publishing, Shueisha, and Viz Media. Okay, so is it going to come later this November?
Mm-hmm. So if you're checking the boxes for your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossovers, of which we just had one with started one with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers last week, and we've talked about this one prior to that. And you can just go ahead and put this one on your list, because I can't think of I can't think of a property they haven't. Actually, I mean, I can't think of something they haven't, but I can't think of any. I guess significant and related ones that of note that they haven't crossed over with yet. Like they definitely haven't done Transformers yet that I know of. So that would be the only one I can think of. They probably done Star Trek, because I feel like that's the thing already. But yeah, the Turtles crossed over with everything. So they haven't done the Avengers yet. There you go. So maybe that's coming. I'm pretty sure it's probably somebody's probably writing that right now. Next up, though, Absolute Batman makes his official debut with the perfect sentence to describe his new continuity. This is spoilers for DC All In Special Number 1, aka Ultimate DC Universe. Let's see. According to this article, Batman's Absolute Batman's debut is eye-catching as his bulky design. He is kind of ripped. He's kind of a Frank Miller is kind of ripped almost, but not really. Let's see. The narration establishes the tone of the darker take on the Dark Knight, stating that the absolute universe is a world, quote, where all of their advantages are gone. And I think the quote in relation to Batman is he is small chaos rather than the system itself, I guess is the quote that they were getting at, which is supposed to describe him in this universe. So sure. I'm gonna keep saying it, whether it's intentional or not. Absolute Batman comes out next week, by the way, folks. So I'm sure one of us will probably check it out. Next up,
West Coast Avengers introduces Earth's unlikeliest hero, Blue Bolt. So this November, the West Coast Avengers are back from writer Jerry Duggan and artist Danny Kim. The team's led by Iron Man. The new roster includes Spider-Woman, War Machine, Firestar, a mysteriously redeemed Ultron, and another former villain seeking redemption, Blue Bolt. This is the first appearance for this character, and yeah, you know what? We'll see what happens.
if this ends up being Century, not SENTRY, but CEN.
Century, right?
Exactly.
Century, right?
Yes. If it ends up being that, which will be very funny, I'm going to be very highly upset.
I remember that though with ForceWorks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. But they say this is supposedly a wholly new character, so we'll see if that actually is the case. I'm not holding out on that. Actually, it would be very funny if it was Century. I'll still be mad about it, but I will laugh my ass off about it.
I don't even know whatever happens to that character.
Exactly.
My goodness.
They probably killed him off. I don't know. Either way. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if that's him. But I don't think so. Next up, though, Deadpool's final words are the perfect choice according to this Screen Rant article. as Marvel kills off Wade Wilson, which we'll see how long that lasts.
Right.
Apparently, spoilers for Deadpool #6, which was that is that this week? I guess it is. So yeah, apparently he gets carved up. He doesn't have his healing factory, and I guess he got killed and calls out his daughter's name. Spoiler alert. Which so basically, I'm sure Deadpool is definitely not dead, but I guess Wade Wilson is not going to be around for a while, which is weird. That movie was so popular. Anyway, I don't like the character. I don't care. Next up.
So J. Michael Straczynski, the current writer on Captain America, returns to writing both Thor and Spider-Man in issue number 14 of the upcoming the upcoming issue of Captain America number 14. So, Straczynski's had long runs with both Thor and Spidey, to some acclaim and to some infamy. So it's interesting to see him back on both, writing both characters in the pages of Captain America.
Right. So he wanted to play with all of his toys at the same time. That's that's admirable. I saw another article. I'm pretty certain it was Screen Rant. In fact, now that I'm seeing what I'm seeing in this article, it definitely was. There was a name given to the team, which is called the New Warriors 3.
Oh my god.
That is in this article. So, or unless that's the name of the story, I don't know. But either way, that's amusing. Next up, though, which, given current events about a movie version of one of the current Warriors 3 in the MCU, there's one clip that keeps popping up, which is very funny. 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Marvel reveals the new Marvel Legends figure. I mean, the new look against Doctor Doom inspired suits. Yeah, you see the cover for Amazing Spider-Man with I guess that's a Doom variant cover. That's not the cover. That must be no, that's the Amazing Spider-Man cover for the eighth death. Just didn't have the banner on top. Here is the cover for Amazing Spider-Man 61, which starts that whole 8 Deaths of Spider-Man thing, which also still has Doom on the cover, which actually looks like an ill album cover. There's 62, which we get a glimpse of said Spidey suit on the cover of that, and here's a full body shot from 63, and looks to be some crimson bands of what I'm about to say, or what I could say after that is involved with this.
Magic. Okay.
Yep. So there you go, folks. Next up.
Alrighty, Marvel editor Tom Brevoort insists there's no going back for Earth 616's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Mary Jane Watson. So at the recent Baltimore Comic-Con via Popverse, Brevoort discussed the character mandates in place at the publisher and how they affect Spider-Man and his most enduring love interest. So basically, you can write Peter and Mary Jane getting back together, but not getting married. Those are the ground rules. You gotta play by those rules if you want to play in the sandbox.
To quote one Martin Lawrence, that's bullshit, Aldo. But I mean, I guess in a way it kind of makes sense.
Listen, if they told me I could write Spider-Man and I could kill stupid Paul, but Mary Jane and Peter couldn't get married, I'd be like, all right.
Right, and I guess we should also note this is 616 Peter, because as we know from the Ultimate Universe, they are actually
they're already married.
So, yeah, but okay, yes, they've already done the Peter Mary Jane marriage, so it's not like they can make it a. Well, I guess they could try if they wanted to make it as big of a deal when it originally happened, and boy, did they. But come on, man. I'm tired of Reed and Sue being the only ones with a long-lasting relationship in the goddamn 616.
Yeah.
Anyway, next up, Spider-Man returns to he's going to be at the Macy's. I don't know why they do this, but Spider-Man is going to be at the Macy's Day parade as a float. back again,
Right,
which
it's a
I
new
didn't.
balloon. Right, it's a new
Right.
balloon. So
Right.
apparently, what I did not know, and obviously as a New Yorker, I don't do a lot of the touristy things around these around these parts, but I did not know that apparently it's been 10 years since the Spidey balloon, the OG Spidey balloon, was in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and
Right.
apparently they're bringing it back. They're bringing a new one in this year. So, like I always love seeing the Spidey balloon in the Thanksgiving Day Parade, even though
Right.
I
The
was
one
never
where he's
there live. I was
right.
exactly. You saw Roddy Cat just strike the pose,
Mhm.
and ultimately, I would always just kind of wait for it to like pass by on the TV, and then I'd be like, "All right, time to go to wherever we're going for Thanksgiving." Right? So I'd
Right.
wait, like I'd just be like, "All right, I'm waiting for Spidey, waiting for Spidey." Even in my my older years, like I'm waiting for Spidey. I want to see it. So
Mhm.
I did not realize that in the last 10 years that there was no Spidey balloon. I'm
Nope.
glad to see that there's going to be a new one this year.
There was Goku there, so I know you were happy about that.
That's right. Yeah, Goku was the first year for Goku was last year, right?
Mm. No, I thought it was a couple of
What's
years.
it,
You
years?
might be right
Oh,
though.
okay, it's been a
You
few
might be
years.
right though. I'm not sure. Because it's kind of one of these things, like just like with the spider was like you feel like you've still seen these floats, even though you might not have. It just feels like they were there, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you're watching the video version, you can see what the new float's going to look like. It's a different pose, as opposed to the one we got. I wonder what they did with that old one. Not that it matters, I guess. But either way, next up, I take this one, I guess. But I hate they're doing this. Anyway, the U.S. Patent Office has trademark office, excuse me, has canceled Marvel and DC's use of, I guess, the word superhero. So let me make
Right.
this
It's
bigger.
not trademarked anymore, so no one, so people are free to use it.
Right. That was a Reuters article, and that's weirdly enough the only article I could see of good note about it. But yeah, so apparently DC did not file an answer to wait, no, what?
Are you going into the legal mumbo jumbo?
I'm going to try not to, but I'm reading what I scraped out of the audio, out of the article, but it wasn't really much to the article either way.
Mhm.
So the Trial and Appeal Board ruled for S.J. Richards Super Babies Limited, and opens new tab after Disney's whatever opens new tab. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but regardless, hey, yeah.
I'm like, wait a second. Is that scrape actually like literally what you did? Was it like opening new tabs?
It was a whole thing, and if you're watching the video version, you can see part of the problem right there.
Right.
But yeah, but basically, hey, that the title tells you everything you need to know. I don't even know why I tried.
And what's funny about it is I had some friends reach out to me and asked if I knew about this. And I said, actually, I think I did. Not the story about the superhero trademark being canceled, but
Right,
that the term superhero had been trademarked in the first place, and
right.
that it was a joint it was joint ownership between Marvel and DC. And I think I knew that. I think I actually read that in at some point in probably in uh, intellectual property class in law school. Like,
Sure.
lo these many moons ago.
Right, right. Next up,
All
what's
right,
going on?
Marvel Legends Hulkbuster Deluxe action figure can now be added to your collection. It is now in stock at Amazon for $60. It's tempting. It's a big piece of plastic.
Yeah,
It's the comic book version of the Hulkbuster, not the MCU.
and not the build a figure, which obviously, but
Right.
sure. This yeah. Oh, and also apparently Gladiator Hulk is $40.
Nice.
Um,
I had the build a figure version, so I didn't want to dive in. I might as well take the next one too.
sure, go for it.
So Hasbro Marvel Legends Rogue and Destiny 2-pack is back in stock on Amazon for $49.99. Can I have just the Rogue and not the Destiny, please? Shots fired!
It was bound to happen. It was
Right. I
bound
mean, listen, ultimately, I'm mildly tempted to do like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants / Freedom Force from the 80s.
Sure.
And that means I'd have to track down the Blob and Avalanche and Pyro, which could get a little expensive, but this pack has Destiny.
Would it
So
though? I
what's
can't
that?
imagine. I said, would it though? I can't imagine any of those figures being that. Maybe the Blob, maybe I don't know, that being that
Blob is
expensive.
expensive. It's a big piece of plastic.
Right. But the other two should probably be out there. I'm surprised.
No. Avalanche is cheap. They
One of the
haven't
pegs.
put out Crimson Commando or Super Saber.
Oh right. Yeah. Well.
Oh,
I'm
I mean
sure they're
that's
coming.
that particular version of Freedom Force from the 80s.
I'm sure they're coming though.
Right.
Next up though, and
Probably it's pack with those two specific figures too.
That would make the most amount of sense.
Right.
But getting into probably the reason why Agent 70 took that last one also, Fantasy Flight Games reveals new Marvel Champions, the card game expansion. But this one's a Shield expansion, so that might be of interest to Agent 70. I don't know. But so yeah, they revealed that the Shield expansion will hit retail February 21st, 2025. Some of the characters will include Maria Hill, and Nick Fury, of course. Each is playable heroes with a pre-constructed deck that also comes ready to play. The box comes with 5 new scenarios where players battle the minions and mad scientists AIM, Black Widow, Yelena Belova, the scenario Batroc, and MODOK. It's $45, folks. Or when it comes out, it will be $45. So there you go. Next up,
gotta love it, man. Playoff baseball, folks. I'm like chomping at the bit to like watch more highlights because I was listening to it on the radio like an old school baseball fan. Right. Hasbro debuts Transformers Takara Tomy Triple Takeover Is that Deception or Decepticon sets?
Supposed to be Decepticon, I would imagine.
All right, this is a typo. Okay. Featuring classic G1 designs, Astro Train, Blitzwing, and Starscream figures are inspired by Triple Change or Rebellion episodes from the original series. Astro Train converts into a steam train and space shuttle, while Starscream includes a crown, cloak, and accessories set available for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse until November 25th, 2024 for $109.99, and it releases in late June 2025.
And if it is a typo, which I feel confident it is, they do it a couple times.
It is a typo because Bleeding Cool not have an editor look that over.
Apparently, well, that's never stopped.
Because deception's a real word, so it's not like spell check's going to catch that.
Yeah, this is also true, but
you interested in grabbing that Astro Train? Starscream?
I kind of want to because I used to have, which is what makes me mad because I used to have Astro Train. So, and matter of fact, I was in my comic shop and I saw, was it Blitzwing? I think I did see. Well, actually, no, I have seen an Astro Train out there, both in the shop and on Amazon for relatively cheap. I think it's cheaper in Amazon, obviously, than the store. And it's like, I kind of want to do it, but damn, I already had that thing.
Right. The Starscream's actually pretty fun looking.
Yes. So, I mean, the whole set looks pretty good. It's just like, do I want to, man.
Right, and it comes with a cape too for Starscream. That's funny.
Right, for the coronation thing. Yeah, of course. Wait, I think that's a different one. Because I don't know if is that in the Truth Throwback? Because I thought they specifically did a coronation figure for Starscream. And yeah, it looks like it is because I do see it in the accoutrement. Unless that was a figure. That must have been a figure and not an actual, like that was a statue, not a figure. So that's probably why they did that, which I guess it makes a little bit more sense. And yeah, there's Blitzwing. So there you go. Anyway, next up. Speaking of Transformers rolls out the world's first permanent physical store for the 40th anniversary. Where is the store, you ask? It's probably not here in the States.
It's not in New York.
Yeah, which I saw this and I was like, well, that's a place that it would be.
It's in the UK.
Of course. In honor of the 40th anniversary of Transformers and for some strange reason the 20th anniversary of Peppa Pig, according to this article, Hasbro I did not know Peppa Pig has been around that long. I did not need to know that information. Hasbro is opening permanent stores offering goods and services based on these properties. For the Cybertronians, the stage will be set with a mural celebrating the Transformers and Battersea Power Station, courtesy of Merwalls. Let's see, there will be several Transformers video games and AR experiences featured, including a themed trading card game. You mean like the one Wizards killed off? Bastards. Well, there is that other trading card game that's out. Never mind. I'm still salty about that other one. Fucking Wizards. Anyway, like you said, it's in the UK, and they even give directions to it. And hey, if somebody want to send us or me specifically over there, I welcome it. But next up,
Details on upcoming Ghostbusters containment unit prop includes a price reveal and a release estimated time of arrival. So this is a cardboard containment unit prop available from Prime Party. And let's see here. It'll go on sale probably in time for Halloween.
makes sense.
Right. So this is like the wall unit where they go, with a lever that goes clank. The listing reveals the price, and the set is priced at $64.99. Okay.
Light is green, trap is clean. So last week when we talked about, when I first saw this, I thought this was what that HasLab thing they were going to be like. I thought that leaked from. I know that's coming out in New York, so we'll probably get more on that then. But I thought, because I even said like, what else could they possibly do? And then this shows up, even though it's cardboard and that. I was like, yeah, they could totally do an actual containment unit thing and put it out on HasLab for some dumb reason. Mobile Suit Gundam franchise gets a trading card game. So this was announced. This was teased on the 27th, and I guess there was a promotional video that came out a few days ago. Or actually, well, this article came out yesterday, but I think the promotional video came out a couple days ago, which I haven't had a chance to check out. Yet another card game that Radicat is mildly interested in because he likes because he likes card games and he likes Gundam. So they're just really trying to hit my pockets, man. Let's see. The Gundam card game edition beta would include 16 booster packs, 9 cards, and yada 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 yada, a bunch of stuff. There will be trial events coming up in places nowhere near me. Well, unless I want to go to Orlando. But no one wants to go to Orlando. But yeah, so there's a video out there if you want to check it out, if you are so inclined, and that is the thing. Next up.
Okay, so I get a Hot Toys reveal. Hot Toys reveals Alien vs. Predator, Akaone Samurai Predator collectible figure. It is a Predator in samurai armor. And goodness, I am looking for a price. Because it's Hot Toys, it's going to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking for the price. I'm looking for the price. What's that?
It's kind of cool looking though.
It is very cool. It's a great design. No price included in this article, but I'm sure it's going to be expensive because it is in fact Hot Toys.
Absolutely. I would wager $250.
I think you're probably close.
Yeah. At the very least. And that's probably me lowballing it, but
Right.
Next up though. Let's see. Square Enix announces Sega Genesis Saturn. Now, yes, it had nothing to do with comic books, but I just like this, so I'll put it in there. As is my want. Square Enix announces Sega Genesis Saturn and Dreamcast die-cast miniatures. So yeah, Square Enix's Bright Arts series has these. So there are 6 of them, which includes the Mega Drive, the Japanese version of the Genesis, the Saturn, the Japanese version of Saturn, the White Saturn from Japanese, the Japanese and North American versions of the Dreamcast, as well as the North American Genesis and the European Dreamcast. So if you just want those to throw on your shelf, hey, um, there you have it. You can't play anything on them, so why bother? You know, and if you got in on that Genesis, that mini Genesis that folks were putting out, you got something close already. But it's still cool looking. It's still cool looking. I've seen like Hallmark or whoever has got like tree um tree decorations in the shape of consoles, which are pretty cool. Those are out there also. So yeah, good stuff. Next up and lastly,
Last but not least, Factory Entertainment debuts Star Trek Strange New Worlds phaser replica with a limited Anson Mount signature edition, the actor who played Captain Christopher Pike.
mhm.
So I did not know, and I was going to ask Cat. So the Strange New Worlds phaser is obviously a slight redesign. It's not a gigantic departure from previous designs of the Star Trek phaser, from that era, not the next generation. Obviously,
Correct.
that's a big switch. So this is one that does not have like the flipping between stun and kill.
So this is not the Abrams version, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
no.
gotcha.
I'm sure somebody's probably made that one, but no, this is not that. And Stranger Worlds is still going on, but it is set in kind of TOS era about. So that's why the design is closer to TOS than not.
Got it.
Yeah. Um. There's also I'm looking at this tricorder, which I don't. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that later because I think that the medical tricorder prop and the phaser prop they got pictures of, or other pictures of outside of this one. So I'll check into that later. All right, folks. We got that is it for the news. We are gonna hit one last ad read.
I do have very
Oh,
quickly
right.
Toy Corner real quick. So I'm gonna just drop the background
We're gonna do that
and
now. Okay.
jump into Toy Corner very quickly and then hit that last ad read.
All right, hit it.
So this week I got two more Marvel Legends. Uh, I guess you could call them both 2-packs, kind of. So the first one I got was the Punisher War Journal pack, which includes the black costume Punisher and the character Bushwhacker. Right, so this is all based off of the Jim Lee era of Punisher War Journal. Right, so he's got lots of pew pews, lots of new guns. And Bushwhacker, I never thought I'd get a Bushwhacker Marvel Legend ever, so this is kind of a surprise. Um, and what then came in a little early, but you know how it is with these things, is the Jean Grey and Phoenix Force kind of 2-pack. It's really the Phoenix, but with like that Phoenix effect piece that has like the Phoenix Force surrounding her and allowing her to kind of reflecting behind her. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
You can almost hear the squawk of the animated version Phoenix.
Right. So just happy to share that. And these are, I try to stick to the Marvel Legends that I'm really happy to get nowadays. I don't get full sets anymore, full waves that is, but
Mm-hmm.
I try to stick with the ones I really want. Anyway,
All right.
last up is our last ad read. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that has been this show for this week. Man, after Rings of Power is now gone, feeling a little bit empty. Not really. But yeah, we still got some more Agatha to go through. New York Comic Con's coming up in a couple of weeks, so there will be some some protocol going in effect for that.
Sure.
I'm fairly certain we don't. Unless Agent 70 goes to see what's in ever next week.
My Hero.
Yeah.
We'll
Then
probably try not to do it on a Thursday, so we'll see.
But regardless, we shall hear about that outing when that happens, and hopefully decidedly less sports ball.
That's contrary to my own wishes. I hope there's a lot more.
Well, I already know what season is, so it's not going to happen for me. Speaking of, as we push this on out, happy spooky season for those who celebrates that, and Lord knows you've been itching for this since August. Y'all are insufferable. Pumpkin spice, everything just got to go. Good gracious. Waiting for hot chocolate season, which I'm sure will probably be next March at this point. But folks, like I said, next week's got another show. We will be back then. I have been Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerd on Twitter. Find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You could also find us on the Coast of the Podcast Network, actually. That is cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coast of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
I'm trying to wean myself off of saying Google, but it's just so ingrained at this point. It's
right.
It's crazy. You can also find us recording every Thursday, mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern time, whether it be standard or daytime, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation. That's TheKliqNation. And of course, twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we're on live and direct.
Oh, that's what I was going to mention. Hopefully this weekend, I'm hoping to hold myself to this. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I do have that G.I. Joe beat 'em up game that just came out like last week, and I didn't have a chance to play it in the past week. But I'm hoping to get to that this week. So hopefully stay tuned for keep your notifications on on the Twitch channel so you can hopefully see me play that game terribly, but try to find some fun doing it.
Okay.
It's not that hard of a game. It's just it's a little quirky. Hopefully they fix some stuff since the last time I played it. But that thing looks good, and so I'm looking forward to actually playing it. And I wanted to wait to play it on stream as opposed to not. So maybe I'll put it on the YouTube channel at some point, but I doubt it. We'll see. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.